Good morning. We are beginning today with the Devi Bhagavata Purana, Book 8, Chapter 9. This is in the conversation between Devarishi Narada and Rishi Narayana, Narayana Avatara, the sage in Badrikashrama Valley. Narayana was explaining to Narada the various Varshas of Jambudvipa, the extended lands of the of the full spiritual expanse of the earth, beyond the earth that we experience in Kali Yuga. Narayana said, in Harivarsha, the region of Harivarsha, Bhagavan Hari is shining splendid as a yogi in the form of Narasingha. Is Narasingha half lion avatar? Mahabhagavat, meaning the great devotee, Prahlada, the Asura Prahlada, who knows the attributes of God, worships and chants hymns with his wholehearted devotion, seeing that beautiful form of Narasingha, his Ishta Devata, gladdening to all the people. Prahlada spoke. This is the prayer of Prahlada to Narasingha in Harivarsha. I bow down to thee, the Bhagavan, Narasingha Deva. Thou art the light of all lights. Thy big teeth are like thunderbolts. Let thee manifest in thy most terrible form. Let thee destroy the desires of the people to do karma, to perform action. And let thou devour the great ajnana, the great ignorance, the moha, or delusion of the people. Thou art the receptacle of the sattva, raja, and tamogunas. Let myself be always free from any fear by thy grace. Om Krom. Let this whole world rest completely in peace and happiness. Let cheats quit their guiles and be pure and simple. Let all the people quit completely their animosities towards each other and think of their welfare. Let all the people be free from causing injuries to others and be peaceful, and let them have control over their passions. Let our mind be completely free from desires and rest entirely and devotedly on thy lotus feet. Let us not be attached to our children, our wives, our wealth, our house, or to any other worldly objects. If there be any attachment, let it be to objects dear to the Bhagavan. He who barely sustains his body and soul together and controls himself completely, success is very near to him. Not so to the persons that are attached to the senses. The dirt of the mind that is not washed away by bathing in the Ganga or by taking recourse to the tirthas, the holy sites, etc. What remains is removed by the company of the devotees of God, and by their influence, hearing, thinking, and meditating on the attributes of the Bhagavan. Who is there that does not serve the Bhagavan? He who has got Nishkama Bhakti, which is Nishkama Bhakti is bhakti without desire, bhakti for the sake of bhakti. He who has got Nishkama Bhakti to Bhagavan, to him come always the Devata, Dharma, Jnana, and other higher qualities. But he who indulges in various mental phantasms without any bhakti to the Bhagavan follows worldly happiness that is certainly to be hated and never gets vairajnana and other higher qualities. As water is life to the fish, so the Bhagavan Hari is the self of all embodied beings, that we abide in him. And so he is to be specially prayed to. So if a high-souled person be attached to household happiness without thinking of God, then his greatness dwindles into a trifling insignificance like the ordinary pleasures of man and woman when they are full of youth. So leave at once the home that is the source of birth and death, and leave trishna. Trishna literally means thirst, but desire for things in general. clinging to life, low-spiritedness, name and fame, egoism, shame, fear, poverty, loss of honor, leave ideas and attachments such as these, and worship the lotus feet of the Bhagavan Narasimha Deva and be entirely fearless. Thus Prahlada, the lord of the Daityas of Harivarsha, daily worships devotedly Bhagavan Narasimha, resplendent in his lotus heart, the death blow to ignorance and also to demons. The lion that rends the elephant of sins. In the Ketumala Varsha, that's the western Varsha of Jambudvipa, the Bhagavan Narayana is reigning in the form of the Kamadeva, the god of love. The people there always worship him. The daughter of the ocean, the Indra Devi, this is another name of Lakshmi, who confers honor and glory to the Mahatmas, is the presiding deity of the Varsha. She always worships the Kamadeva with the following verses. Lakshmi Devi speaks every day there. Om Ram Hrim Hrum Om Namo Bhagavate Hrishikeshaya. Thou art the Bhagavan of the nature of the Omkara. Thou art the director, the lord of the senses. Thy Atman is the highest and the receptacle of all good things. All the karma vrittis, all the jnana vrittis, and effort and resolution, and other faculties of the mind, act in their respective channels by thy looking or by thy mere glance, and by their being constantly practiced in thee. And the elements over which they get their masteries are subservient to thy laws. The mind and the other 11 indriyas, and touch, taste, the rest of the 5 senses, are but thy parts. All the rites and ceremonies observed in the Vedas are found in thee. Thou art the infinite store of all the nourishment of the jivas. From thee flows the Paramananda, the highest bliss. Thou art all, thou art the substance, purity incarnate. Thou art the energy, the strength manifest in all. Thou art the finish or the final culmination of all happiness, and thou art the one and only substance that can be desired by the people, since whatever they desire, its essential substance is he. So obeisance to thee. This thy lordship is not dependent on anybody else. The women that know thee, the Lord of all, but worship other bodies for their husbands. Those husbands can never save them. Their lives, their wealth, their progeny, or other dear things as those, to them, are controlled by kala and karma, so they cannot be termed patis or husbands at all. Thou art the real husband and no other. For thou art naturally fearless, and thou protectest in every way persons that become afraid and take refuge in thee. Thou art the Lord of all wealth, so no other is superior to thee. How can then they be independent whose happiness depends on others? The lady that desires to worship thy lotus feet only and becomes subservient to no others, to no, especially to no mortal husband, she attains all desires. Again, the lady who, desiring other desires than thee, does not worship thy lotus feet, thou fulfillest the desires of her too. But, O Bhagavan, when the period of enjoyment of these things ceases, and when the objects of these enjoyments are destroyed, then she repents much due to the loss of those things. Brahma, Mahadeva, the Suras and the Asuras practice hard tapasyas to get me, impelled by their desires to attain the objects of sense enjoyments. But he only really gets me who worships and takes refuge of thy lotus feet, for my heart is entirely attached to thee. So, O Achyuta, kindly show thy grace, and put on my head thy lotus palm, praised by the people of the universe, that thou placest on thy bhaktas. O Bhagavan, that thou takest me in thy bosom as a sign of thy grace. No one can fathom the deeds of thee, the only controller of all. Thus, Lakshmi, the Prajapati, and the lords of that Ketumala Varsha worship the Bhagavan, the friend of all, with a view to attain their respective desires and siddhis. In Ramyaka Varsha, the Matsya form, the fish form of the Bhagavan, is set up and consecrated. The Suras and the Asuras worship him there. The highly intelligent Manu, who dwells there, since that one, Ramyaka Varsha, is the dwelling place of Manu, always chants hymns to that excellent form thus: obeisance to him who is the life of all, the essence and strength of all, to that great fish form, the body incarnate of Sattva Guna, who is of the nature of the Omkara and bliss. Thou art the Lord of all the Lokapalas, and of the form of the Vedas. Thou art within and without all this universe, moving and non-moving, so pervading the entire universe and beyond it, moving and non-moving. Still all the beings are unable to see thy form. As people bring under their control wooden dolls in puppetry, so thou controllest the universe by the rules and prohibitions and the name of the Brahmanas, etc. Thou art the god. The Lokapalas, being overcome by the fever of jealousy and pride, become quite unable, either individually or collectively, to quit their jealousies and to protect the bipeds, quadrupeds, reptiles, and snakes. So thou art the god, the higher protector. Thou hadst upheld this earth along with me, says Manu, who does his part of upholding the earth, and with the medicinal plants and creepers. And thou showed the highest luminous light in the great ocean at the time of Pralaya, tossed with surging waves, and thou didst roam there. Thou art the self of all the beings in the universe, so we bow down to thee. Thus the Manu, the best of mortal beings, used to praise the Bhagavan, who took his incarnation in the shape of the fish, remover of all doubts. Manu, the foremost of the Bhagavatas, foremost of the great devotees, is still reigning there in Ramyaka Varsha, in the service of the fish incarnation of Bhagavan, with intense meditation, expurging all sins and with great devotion. Here ends the 9th chapter of the 8th book, on the narration of the divisions or varshas of the continent of Jambudvipa and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Chapter 10, Narayana said, in Hiranmaya Varsha, the Bhagavan is remaining in the form of Kurma, the turtle, as the Lord of Yoga. He is thus praised and worshipped by Aryama, the ruler of the Pitris, or the ancestral spirits. Aryama says, Om Namo Bhagavate Akuparaya. Obeisance to thee, the Lord of all prosperities, in the form of Kurma. Thou art built of Sattva Guna incarnate. No one can make out where thou dost dwell. Thou art not encompassed by time, but rather time is encompassed by thee. So obeisance to thee. Thou dost pervade all things. We bow down to thee. All are established in thee. So obeisance to thee. By thy extraordinary Maya, thou hast made manifest this universe that is seen. This is thy form. It is by no means distinct from thee. This thy form is seen in so many forms. So the true reality, being not known, like the mirage, these forms of the world cannot be counted. Really speaking, what is thy form, no one can definitely say. The beings generated by heat and moisture, those that are born of eggs, those that are born from wombs, and the plants, and other moving and non-moving beings, the devas, rishis, pitris, bhutas, and their senses, the sky, the heavens, earth, mountains, rivers, oceans, islands, planets, and stars, all these art thou and thou alone. Thy name, form, and appearance are as varied, and their numbers cannot be counted. Still, Kapila and others have determined their numbers, by the knowledge of which thou canst become visible to the eye of knowledge. Thy form and nature are determined by the Sankhya's ascertained by Kapila, so we bow down to thee. Thus Aryama and the other rulers of the Varsha, all united, sing, praise, and worship the Bhagavan Kurmadeva, the controller of all and the generator of all. All hail to thee. The Bhagavan Yajna Purusha is manifest in Uttarakuru Mandala in the form of Adivaraha, the boar. Uttarakuru Mandala or Uttarakuru Varsha is the northernmost Varsha of Jambudvipa. The earth herself, Bhumi Devi, worships him always. The goddess earth praises Hari, the Yajna Varaha, the boar made of yajnas, the destroyer of the Daityas, and worships duly that Deva with her heart lotus naturally devoted, rendered more devoted by her attachment to the Lord. The goddess earth, Bhudevi, spoke, Om Namo Bhagavate Mantra Tattva Lingaya Yajna Kratave. I bow down to the Bhagavan, the great boar. Thou art Om. Thy real form and nature can be known only by the mantra and tattva. Thou art Yajna and Kratu incarnate. Therefore all the great sacrifices are thy limbs. Thou art the three yugas. References to 3 yugas rather than 4 because there is no yajna in Satyuga. Yajna begins in the Treta. Thou art that which is left as pure after doing karma, so as to be fit for performing yajna. So obeisance to thee. The sages, versed in jnana and vijnana, in knowledge and in wisdom, say that thou art hidden in the body and in the senses, as fire is hidden in the wood, as potential energy. So they, ardent to see thee, seek for thee with a discriminative and dispassionate mind, judging karmas and their fruits, and then thy nature is revealed. I bow down to thee. Thy form can be ascertained by the cause and effect of the karmas and other gunas of Maya, sense objects, senses, actions, devas, body, time, ahankara, and others. I bow down to thee. Those can see thus thy form whose mind is firmly established in thee by their discrimination and yama, niyama, etc., and who have abandoned all sorts of fickleness and changeability of their tempers. So, obeisance to thee. As iron moves attracted towards the magnet, so Maya dances before thee with her gunas and her works in the way of the creation, preservation, and destruction of this universe. In other words, under your control, as if by guiding with magnets. But thou art totally indifferent to it. For the sake of the jivas, desire comes to thee. Though thou art not quite willing, thou art the witness of the jivas and their adrishta. Translated as fate. Technically speaking, what adrishta means is the unseen influences upon them. I bow down to thee. The Yajna-varaha, the cause of this universe, has lifted me up from the Rasatala, and placing me on his big tusks has come out from the Pralaya, the great ocean, after overpowering in battle his enemy, the powerful Daitya, like a triumphant elephant. I bow down to that controller of all, to thee. In the Kimpurusha Varsha is the next Varsha north of us. In the Kimpurusha Varsha, the Bhagavan Adipurusha, the self-manifest and the Lord of all, is residing in the form of Rama, son of Dasharatha, and the joy of the heart of Sita Devi. And there Sri Hanumana thus speaks the prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Uttama Shlokaya. I bow down to the Bhagavan, who art sung by the excellent verses, purifying all. I bow down to thee, the incarnation of modesty, good temper, vows, and good signs. Thy mind is always under thy control. Thou dost imitate, as thy nature is good, the actions of all persons. Or put another way, thou acts like the best natured of men, imitating human nature. in the Rama avatar. Obeisance to thee. Thou art the supreme place to award praise. Obeisance to thee. Thou art Brahmanya Deva in the creation of the universe, the high-souled person, Mahapurusha. Thou gettest the first share above all other persons. Thou art the one tattva, and that alone, as established in the Vedanta. The holy realization is the only guide to it. This tattva dominates over all the gunas. It can never be an object. Only by pure intellect can it be realized. There is no name or form of it. It is always beyond the pale of ahankara. I take refuge to this tattva, the most peaceful, with my body and mind. Thy incarnation in human shape in this world is not only for killing Ravana, but for giving instructions to the mortals. The contact with women and the suffering resulting from that is very difficult to avoid. To give this lesson also, he took this incarnation, showing that this applied even to Rama in his bereavement of being separated from Sita. He who is merged in enjoying the supreme bliss of his own nature, and he who is the Lord of all, how can he suffer miseries in the bereavement of Sita? He is the best friend in the very Atman of those who have conquered their minds and senses. Especially, he is the receptacle of all the qualities and is in enjoyment of other divine extraordinary powers. So he is not attached to the worldly objects. How can the delusion due to his wife come and darken him? And why will he send Lakshmana in exile? He is the Mahatattva and the Paramapurusha. So good birth, beauty, intelligence, oratory, and good form, nothing can please him, or these things do not please him, your birth and so on. Bhakti only can attract him. If that not be the case, then why will he, the elder brother of Lakshmana, the Bhagavan, the son of Dasharatha, make friendship with us, the wanderers of the forest, and who are by nature not the receptacles of such beauty, etc.? So everyone, be he asura or asura, man or not man, should worship the Hari manifest in Rama, in the human body with all his heart. He is so good that if anybody worships him even to a very small extent, he always considers it to be much. What more can be said than this? That he took all the inhabitants of Kosala to heaven. Narayana said, Rishi Narayana said to Narada, thus Hanuman, the best of monkeys, sings the praises and worships duly in Kimpurusha, the lotus-eyed Rama, truthful and determined in his vows. He who hears this wonderful description of Rama is freed of all his sins and goes with his body pure to the abode of Rama. Here ends the 10th chapter of the 8th book on the description of Bhuvana Kosha and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Just a minute. I will be right back. Chapter 11. Narayana said, in this Bharatavarsha, I am present as the first of all in the shape of the man at present standing before you. He says of Narayana, his own Narayana avatar, which is speaking to Narada. Let you praise me. And Narada said, thou art the Bhagavan, obeisance to thee. Thou art completely free from attachment and envy, and thou art the incarnation of dharma, jnana, and vairagyam. No trace of ahankara is in thee, of ego. Obeisance to thee. Thou hast nothing of wealth. Thou art the foremost of the family of rishis. Thou art Naranarayana. Thou art the Paramahansa, the highest class of ascetic renouncers of the world. Thou art the highest guru. Thou art happy with thyself and the leader of all. I bow down to thee. Thou art the Lord of all, yet not mixed in the work of creation. Though thou residest in every embodied being, yet no hunger and thirst can press thee. Though thou art the witness, yet thy sight is not all disturbed by proximity to anything. Thou art not at all connected, and no desires can come to thee. Thou art the witness. So I bow down to thee. This path of yoga has come out of thee and is established in thee. The Bhagavan Hiranyagarbha has given instructions on the cleverness in yoga thus, that leaving aside the egoism of this body, the seat of all evils, the people at last will take resort to the path of bhakti and set their minds on thee, who art beyond the pale of the three gunas. If, like the ignorant persons, very much attached to this world as well as to the next, the wise pass their time in the thoughts of their children, their wives, and riches, and ultimately become very much pained on the destruction of this ugly body, persons versed in jnana and vijnana be afraid in the end of their separation from the body, and their study of the Shastras and all their labors become labors merely without any effect. When such a thing can occur to the learned, then, O thou, subduer of the knowledge of senses, thou thyself givest us instructions that we may easily think of thee. Then this terrible clinging to the ugly body that thy Maya brings about, and which is very difficult to discard by other means, will leave us quickly. Narada, the seer of all, well qualified with the knowledge of all the tattvas, the foremost of the munis, thus worships and praises Narayana, who is unaffected by any of the upadhis. O Devarishi, I now describe to you. So then Narayana, the Rishi, spoke further to Narada. O Devarishi, I now describe to you the rivers and mountains of Bharatavarsha. Hear attentively. So this is now describing predominantly the land of India. The mountains Malaya, Mangalaprastha, Mainaka, Chitrakuta, Rishabha, Kutaka, Kolla, Sahya, Devagiri, Rishyamuka, Srishaila, Vyankata, Mahendra, Varidhara, Vindhya, Shuktiman, Raksha, Pariyatra, Drona, Chitrakuta, Govardhana, Revataka, Kakubha, Nila, Gaurmukha, Indrakila, Kamagiri, and many other mountains that cannot be numbered are there. I also noticed that Chitrakuta was listed twice in that list of names, evidently two different mountains by that name. And indeed, that is the case in India. There are at least two different mountains by that name. Great merits accrue simply on seeing these mountains. Hundreds and thousands of rivers, great and small, issue from these mountains. Drinking their waters, bathing in them and visiting them and singing their praises, completely destroys the sins of mind, word, and body. The names of these rivers are Tamraparni, Chandravasha, Kritamala, Vatodaka, Vaihayasi, Kaveri, Vena, Payasvini, Tungabhadra, Krishnavena, Sharkara, Varataka, Godavari, Bhimarathi, Nirvindhya, Vayoshnika, Tapi, Reva, Surasa, Narmada, Saraswati, Charmanvati, and the Sindhu, Andha, Sone, Rishikulia, Trisama, Vedasmriti, Mahanadi, Kaushiki, Yamuna, Mandakini, Drasadvati, Gomati, Sarayu, Oghavati, Saptavati, Sushama, Shatadro, Chandrabhaga, Marudbridha, Vatasta, Asikni, and Vishva, and many other rivers. Those persons that take their births in this Bharatavarsha enjoy the divya, human and lower enjoyments as the effects of their karmas in accordance with their sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic qualities. All the inhabitants of this varsha take their sannyasa, vanaprasthas, etc., in accordance with the rules of their varnas respectively, and enjoy beatitudes and enjoyments of life accordingly. The Vedavadis, the teachers of the Vedas, the Rishis and the Devas all declare that this Varsha is superior to all the other Varshas, as the grace of God is more easily obtained here. They say, oh, what an amount of good works the inhabitants of Bharatavarsha did in their previous lives, that by their influence, the Bhagavan Hari has become pleased with them without their having any sadhanas. Therefore, we also desire to have our births there. For there, if we be born amongst those persons, we would be able to serve Hari, Mukunda in every way. What will severe austerities, gifts, sacrifices, and practicing vows avail us? Even if we go to heaven, what benefit will we derive there? Then we would never be able to bring our mind to the lotus feet of the Bhagavan Narayana. Our tastes for sense enjoyments would increase because sense enjoyments would be so plentifully available in Svarga. And we would be wholly deprived of Bhagavan. Far better it is to be born in this Bharatavarsha as short-lived persons than to acquire other places where one can live up to the period of a kalpa and then be reborn. For the intelligent people of Bharata, getting this mortal coil can within a short period devote themselves to the Bhagavan Hari and be free from rebirth. That place is never to be visited and served, even if it be Svargaloka, where the nectar-like ocean of the sayings of Vaikunta are not heard, where there are no assemblages of saints who take the refuge of the lotus feet of Bhagavan, where the great yajnas and festivities of the Bhagavan Vishnu are not celebrated. Those persons that do not try for moksha when they get human births, and when they possess jnana, kriya, and dravya. Dravya means the materials for yajna, are certainly like beasts and get themselves repeatedly entangled into bondages. The people of Bharatavarsha offer oblations to Indra and other deities, invoking their names, each separately, with proper vidhis, or procedures, mantras, and purodasas. The purodasa is the yajna oblation of ground rice offered in a vessel. And the all-sufficient Bhagavan Hari, the giver of blessings, accepts these very gladly. True that he grants unto the people what they ask from him, but he hardly gives anybody the paramartha, the highest goal. The reason being that the people ask again and again after receiving what they had asked. So he gives of himself his own lotus feet to those who, having abandoned all their desires, worship him and him only with the idea of love. Thus we are living very happily in the heavens. So they pray in Svarga. We are living very happily in the heavens as the fruit of the Ishtapurta that we performed fully, yet we want that we may next be born in Bharatavarsha, with our memory all renewed with the thought of the Bhagavan Hari. The Bhagavan residing in this Bharatavarsha awards the highest welfare to its inhabitants. Maharshi Narayana said, O Devarshi, thus the Devas of the heavens, the Siddhas, the highest Rishis, sing the excellent merits of this Bharatavarsha. There are the 8 Upadvipas of this Jambudvipa. So this means in the salt ocean surrounding the supercontinent of Jambudvipa are 8 Upadvipas, or 8 great islands. When the sons of Raja Sagara were searching for the footprints of the stolen horse for their Ashvamedha Yajna, they found these Upadvipas in their wide search across the ocean. So it is definitely stated. And the names of these Upadvipas, the names of these great islands are Svaranaprastha, Chandrashukra, Avartana, Ramanaka. Ramanaka, interestingly, that one is a kingdom of Nagas, and the Hindus of Fiji, of the country of Fiji, identify Fiji with Ramanaka. Mandaropakya, Harina, Panchajanya, and Lanka. The length and breadth of Jambudvipa have been described. Now the other 6 dvipas, Plaksha and the others, I shall describe here. And here ends the 11th chapter of the 8th book on the description of the continents and of Bharatavarsha, and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Chapter 12. Narayana has said, the Jambudvipa has been described, how it is and what is its width. It is surrounded on all sides by the salt ocean. As Meru is surrounded by Jambudvipa, so the salt ocean is surrounded by Plakshadvipa, twice its size. And by twice its size is meant twice its width, as a ring. Like a ditch is surrounded by gardens, or so as you might line a hedge around a ditch. So the salt ocean is surrounded by the garden of Plakshadvipa. As the great Jambu tree exists in Jambudvipa, so the Plaksha tree exists in the Plakshadvipa and of the same size. It's a type of fig tree. The name Plakshadvipa is derived from the name of this Plaksha tree. This tree is of a golden color. Fire, Agni, exists at its bottom with incarnate form by the name of Saptajihva, or the 7-tongued Agni. The ruler of this continent, the first ruler, was Idmajihva, the son of Pryavrata. He divided his realm into 7 varshas and distributed them to each of his 7 sons. And then he himself took refuge of the path of yoga, so much liked by the knowers of self, and he reached the Bhagavan Vasudeva. The names of these 7 dvipas into which the land of Plakshadvipa is divided, or 7 varshas rather, into which Plakshadvipa is divided are Shiva, Yavas, Subhadra, Shanti, Kshema, Amrata, and Abhaya. 7 rivers and 7 mountains exist respectively in the 7 varshas. The rivers are Aruna, Nrimna, Angirasi, Savitri, Suprabhatika, Ratambhara, and Satyambhara. The names of the mountains are Manikuta, Vajrakota, Indrasena, Jyotishmana, Suparna, Hiranyastiva, and Meghamala. The seeing and drinking the waters of these rivers takes away all sins and all darkness of ignorance. The 4 Varnas live here, called Hansa, Patanga, Urdhayana, and Satyanga, corresponding to the 4 Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, here in Jambudvipa. The inhabitants of this Plakshadvipa live for 1,000 years, and all are of variegated, wonderful appearances. They follow the customs and usages dictated by the Vedas and worship the god Surya for the attainment of heaven. The mantra by which their worship is done is this: we take refuge unto that sun, who is the body manifest of the ancient person Vishnu, and who is the ordainer of Satya, Rata, Brahma, Amrata, and Mrityu. That is the primary mantra practiced in Plakshadvipa. O Narada, all the persons there live long, 1,000 years, with vigorous senses, energetic, powerful, intelligent, enthusiastic, and valorous. Everyone gets extraordinary powers of themselves. Surrounding this Plakshadvipa is the Ikshu ocean. Ikshu is sugarcane juice, an ocean of sugarcane juice. This Ikshu Sagara surrounds the Plakshadvipa. Next comes Shalmala Dvipa, surrounding the ocean of sugarcane juice in a great ring of land, twice the width of Plaksha. This Dvipa is surrounded by Surasagara, the ocean of wine. On Shalmali Dvipa is a tree named Shalmali, which is as large as the great Plaksha tree on Plaksha. In the Shalmali tree, the high-souled Garuda resides. Yajnavahu was the first ruler of Shalmali Dvipa. He was born of Priyavrata, and he too divided his Varsha into the 7 parts and distributed each of them to his 7 sons respectively. Now hear the names of these Varshas: Surochana, Somanasya, Ramana, Devavarsha, Paribhadra, Apyayana, and Vignata. 7 mountains and 7 rivers exist there respectively. The names of the mountains are Sarasa, Shatasringa, Vamadeva, Kandaka, Kumada, Pushpavarsha, and Sahasrasruti. Now hear the names of the rivers: Anumati, Sinivali, Saraswati, Kuhu, Rajani, Nanda, and Raka. These are the 7 rivers. The people are divided into the 4 Varnas. They're called Srutadhara, Viryadhara, Vasundhara, and Ishundhara, corresponding to Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. They worship Bhagavan as the moon, Soma, the controller of all and the creator of the Vedas. They offer food duly in the black and white fortnights, meaning the waning and the waxing of the moon, to their pitris, to their ancestors. The mantra for their worship is, "Let Soma, Raja of all, be pleased." A simple mantra. O Narada, next to Surasagara is Kushadvipa, surrounded byGhritasagara, the ocean of ghee. So surrounding Surasagara, surrounding the ocean of wine, is the ring continent of Kushadvipa, which is itself surrounded by the ocean of ghee. And Kushadvipa's dimensions are twice as large as those of the Dvipa within it. Here are blades of Kusha grass of a very resplendent color. The name of this Dvipa is from this Kusha Stamba, this particular clump of resplendent Kusha grass. This bundle of Kusha illumines all the directions with its gentle rays. The first ruler of this Dvipa, of Kusha Dvipa, was Hiranyareta, the son of Priyavrata. He too divided the Dvipa into 7 parts and distributed each of them to each of his 7 sons respectively. The names of his 7 sons were Vasu, Vasudhana, Dridharuchi, Nabhigupta, Stutyavrata, Vivekta, and Bhamadevaka. There are 7 mountains forming the 7 boundaries and 7 great rivers. Here are the names of these. The names of the mountains of Kushadvipa are Chakra, Chatusringa, Kapila, Chitre, Devanika, Kuta, Purdharoma, and Dravina. The names of the rivers are Rasakulya, Madhukulya, Mitravinda, Srutavinda, Devagarbha, Ghritachuta, and Mantramalika. The inhabitants of the Kushadvipa drink the waters of these rivers. There are the 4 Varnas here, called Kushala, Kovida, Abhiyukta, and Kulaka, corresponding to Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. They are all powerful like Indra and the other chief devas, and all of them are omniscient. They worship the fire god and perform various good works in honor of him. Their mantra is this: O Agni, thou carriest the oblations direct to Parabrahman. And the yajnas of the devas, thou worshipest that personal god, and offerest to him whatever are given in oblations, mentioning the respective limbs of his body. Thus the inhabitants of Kushadvipa worship the fire god. Here ends the 12th chapter of the 8th book on the narration of Plaksha, Shalmala, and Kushadvipas in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Veda Vyasa. Chapter 13, Narada said, O thou, knower of everything, describe about the remaining dvipas, knowing which we will be highly delighted. And Narayana spoke thus. The very vast Krita Sagara, the ocean of ghee, encircles the Kushadvipa. Beyond it, encircling it, is the Kronchadvipa, twice as large as Kusha. The Kshira Sagara, the ocean of milk, is surrounding that Dvipa. The great Kroncha mountain is standing there, and the name of this Dvipa is derived from the mountain. In days gone by, the highly intelligent Kartikeya, son of Shiva, burst this mountain by his own prowess. It's a long story. There was a demon hiding within the mountain. Kartikeya threw his spear, piercing through the mountainside, and killed the demon within it. This Dvipa is washed by the Kshira Sagara, and Varuna is its regent. The son of Priyavrata, Ghritarashta, respected by all and whose prosperity knows no end, was the first lord of this Dvipa. He divided this Dvipa into the 7 parts and distributed them to his sons and named the Varshas after the names of his sons. Having made his sons the rulers of those places, he himself took the refuge of the Bhagavan Narayana. The names of the 7 Varshas of Kronchadvipa are respectively Ama, Madhuruha, Meghaprashta, Sudhamaka, Bhrajishta, Lohitarna, and Vanaspati. O Narada, the 7 great mountains and 7 rivers there are very celebrated throughout the worlds. The names of the mountains are Shukla, Vardhamana, Bhojana, Upavarhana, Nanda, Nandana, and Sarvatobhadra. The names of the rivers are Abhaya, Amratogha, Aryaka, Tirtavati, Vrittirupavati, Shukla, and Pavitravatika. The inhabitants there drink the highly pure waters of these rivers. The people there are divided into 4 Varnas, Purusha, Rishabha, Dravina, and Vedaka, and they all worship the Bhagavan Varuna of the form of water. Then they become very discriminative and with great devotion, and holding full within their folded palms some water, they repeat the following mantra. O water, thou art the essence of Virya, of the Bhagavan Purusha, and thou sanctifiest the Bhurloka, Bhuvarloka, and Svarloka. Thou destroyest the sins of all. We are touching this water. Purify our bodies. After finishing this mantra, they sing various hymns to Varuna. So beyond the Kshiroda Sagara, the ocean of milk, is the Shakadvipa, 32 lakh yojanas wide, surrounded by the Dadhi Sagara, the ocean of curds, of similar width. Here, the most excellent tree named the Shaka tree exists, the teak tree. O Narada, the Dvipa is named so after the tree, after teak. Medhatiti, the son of Priyavrata, was the first lord of Shakadvipa. He too divided the land into 7 Varshas and distributed them into each of his 7 sons respectively, and ultimately he took refuge to the path of yoga. The names of the 7 Varshas of Shakadvipa are Purojava, Manojava, Pavamanaka, Dhumranika, Chitraretha, Bahurupa, and Vishvadrik. In these Varshas, there are 7 great mountains, one as the boundaries of each Varsha between each other, and there are 7 great rivers also. The names of the mountains of Shakadvipa are Ishana, Urusringa, Valabhadra, Shata, Keshara, Sahasrasrotaka, Devapala, and Mahasana. And the names of the 7 rivers are Anagha, Ayurda, Ubhayasprashti, Aparajita, Panchapadi, Sahasrasruti, and Nijadhriti. These 7 rivers are all very big and resplendent with luster. The people are divided into 4 Varnas in those Varshas: Satyavrata, Kratuvrata, Danavrata, and Anuvrata. They all take the pranayama exercise and thereby bring the rajas and tamoguna under their subjection. And they worship Hari of the nature of Pranavayu, higher than the highest. Their mantra is this: He has entered into all the living beings and nourishes them by the Purana and other faculties. He is the internal ruler of all and the supreme controller. This universe is under his control. Let him protect and nourish us. O Narada, beyond this Dadhisagara, around the ocean of curds, is Pushkara Dvipa. It is twice as large as Shakadvipa. It is surrounded by the Dudhasagara, all twice as large. The leaves of the Pushkara tree that shines in the Pushkara Dvipa are fiery like golden flames, clean and pure as fire. Crores and crores of leaves, golden in color, ornament this tree. Vasudeva, the guru of all the lokas, has created this Pushkara Dvipa as the seat of Parameshti Brahma, possessed of 6 extraordinary powers for the purpose of creation. There is but one mountain in this Dvipa. It is divided into 2 parts named Arvachina and Parachina, forming the boundaries of 2 varshas. So this mountain runs like a ring. Through the ring continent of Pushkara Dvipa, there is one mountain that runs like a ring, and it divides the continent into an outer band and an inner band, which are the 2 varshas. The mountain is 1 ayutta yojana high and the same in width. And on the 4 sides of it are 4 cities of the Devas. Indra and 3 other Lokapalas are the lords of these cities. So on the eastern part of the mountain is a city of Indra. On the southern part of the mountain is a city of Yama. On the western part of the mountain is a city of Varuna, and on the northern part of the mountain is a city of Soma. The sun god travels upon their top, circumambulating Meru and revolving about again. The whole year is his chakram, in which he makes this circle. His path is Uttarayanam and Dakshinayanam, the 2 halves of the year, between the solstices. Vitihotra, son of Priyavrata, was the first lord of Pushkara Dvipa. He was the one who distributed the 2 varshas amongst his 2 sons, Ramana and Dhataki, to rule over the 2 varshas named after them. Like the inhabitants of the aforementioned varshas, the people also get powers of themselves and devotedly worship the god seated on the lotus, Brahma, and follow such path of yoga as leads them to the Brahma Salokya, to Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Their mantra goes, we bow down to that one God without a second, of the nature of peace, who is the fruit of all the karmas, who is the seat of illumination, Brahma, who is established in unity, who is worshipped by all the lokas. Here ends the 13th chapter of the 8th book on the description of the remaining dvipas and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharshi Vedavyasa. Chapter 14, Narayana said, so beyond Pushkara Dvipa is an ocean of pure water, fresh water, not salt. Beyond this, far beyond it, ultimately, is the mountain called Lokaloka. It marks the division between the 2 realms, Loka and Aloka, or rather it is the border of the world. Within it is this Loka, beyond it is outside of this Loka. O Devarishi, there is a land all of pure gold between the ocean of fresh water and Lokaloka mountain, for a space equal to the distance between Manasotara and Meru, so an extremely vast expanse. By extremely vast, it's about 1.7 billion miles across, a sheet of pure gold. This land is like a mirror of gold. There are no beings here, no living beings. The reason is, any substance placed upon the sheet of gold is at once turned into gold, and nothing can be taken back from it. O Narada, no living beings can live there, and therefore it is named Lokaloka, the border of the world. God himself has made this as the boundary of the loka. The rays of the sun, the pole star, and all the planets are confined to this sphere. Rather, passing through its middle, the luminaries shed their luster on the three lokas. O Narada, this great mountain, Loka, is so lofty and capacious that all the rays of the luminaries cannot shine out of it. The learned say that the size, form, and indications of this mountain are such as this, that it is that on its summit it is 1/4 of 500 times the size of the earth. The self-born Brahma has placed great elephants on all sides of it, 4 elephant deities. Hear their names. They are Rishabha, Pushpachuda, Vamana, and Aparajita. These 4 elements are said to hold all the lokas in their proper positions. The Bhagavan Hari gives strength to these elephants and to Indra and others who are reckoned to be his vibhutis, or his emanations. He, manifesting his Shuddha Sattva, his super extraordinary powers, and united with Anima, Laghima, etc., the 8 Siddhis, is reigning there, surrounded by his Paridashas Vishvaksena and others, his great servants. He is the one God of all without a second. For the welfare of all, he is holding Sudarshana and his various other weapons, and the powers of his arms are great. He is his own cause, and at all times, he pervades in all and through all. He is eternal. This universe is upheld by his extraordinary power of Maya for its preservation. He remains in this form until the end of a kalpa. The inner width described above determines the width of Aloka, for it is situated outside the above loka of Bhuloka. Beyond the mountain Loka is said to lie the pure path leading to Yogeshvara, within the egg-shaped ellipsoid formed by the heaven and earth. The inner dimension of this ellipsoid is 25 korti yojanas. When this egg becomes unconscious, the sun enters within it in the form of Vairaja. Hence, the sun is called Martanda, literally the dead egg, or that which, in this case, that which enters into the lifeless egg. He is Hiranyagarbha when he is born from this golden egg. It is this sun and gives life to it. It is this sun that ordains the quarters, Akasha, heaven and earth, etc., and their proper spheres and divisions. This sun is the Atma of Svarga and Moksha, Naraka, and other lower regions, of the Devas, humans, birds, reptiles, trees, and all other living beings. And he, Surya, is the presiding deity of their sight. O Narada, its width is Panchashat Korti yojanas, and its height or depth is 25 Korti yojanas. If, as the 2 halves of a gram are of the same size, so is the earth and heaven, or the world below and the world above, of equal size. The space enclosed between them is called Antariksha. The sun god, foremost of the Graha Devas, being situated in the middle, gives light and illumines and heats the 3 lokas. He goes by the path of Uttarayana, and therefore his motion becomes Mandakati, or the increase of the length of the day ceases at the summer solstice. The sun, then getting up higher at that time, prolongs the daytime around the time of summer. Similarly, when the sun follows the path of Dakshinayana toward the winter solstice, it gets Sigragati, and not going up so high, and the daytime shortens around the winter solstice. Again, when he comes at the equinox, he maintains an even position, and the day and night become equal in length. When the sun is in the signs of Mesha and Tula, or in Western astrology, those are Aries and Libra, it is then the day and the night become equal. When the sun traverses the 5 signs, Taurus, Gemini, etc., the day becomes longer and longer, and when the sun traverses the 5 signs, Scorpio, and so on, the day becomes shorter and the night becomes longer. And here ends the 14th chapter of the 8th book on the descriptions of the Lokaloka space, and the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses, by Maharishi Vedavyasa. And we can pause there for today.
Wow, thank you, Devi.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Was it? It's interesting. It's kind of referring to Western astrology at the end there,
He
in the
was
sense of
he he
solstices
was
and.
he was simply translating the signs.
Now, I've always wondered, like with Jyotish,
Mhm.
there is, from my understanding of Jyotish, there's no observance of the equinoxes or solstices, though, formally, like December 21st, July 20, or June 21st, etc. Because that's
Yeah,
a Western thing.
yeah, it is known in the Eastern tradition as well. It's not so emphasized in Jyotish. But certainly the solstices are marked, and
Oh,
the equinoxes. They take they're not they don't make a very big deal of them, but they do take note of them.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that was amazing about like Varsas and Dvipas and stuff, right? Um, what's the difference? Dvipa is a mountain or no? It's a region.
Dvipa means a landmass. So a
And what's the
continent, a
yeah.
continent or an island, a landmass bounded by ocean of any size. Whether it's a small island or whether it's a giant continent. Dvipa just means landmass.
Okay. And then what's a Varsa?
Avarsha is a region, um, typically bounded by mountains. Within a dvipa, it's like a country essentially.
Okay, region or a country.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, with
And-
discrete borders, like bounded by mountains, typically.
Interesting. And then these, of course, are different than lokas. Loka, but
All
what
of
is it?
this, all of these are within one loka. All of these are within the greater bhuloka or bhumi loka of the earth, but of course a far far vaster extent of it than the earth that we experience in Kali Yuga.
Loka, right.
Yes,
Um, oh, in Kali Yuga. So in other yugas, vaster regions of Bhumi Loka are experienced and we're conscious of.
yes, yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Interesting. And they said something about three lokas, but there's more than three lokas.
There are more than three lokas. The three lokas are those illumined by our sun. The earth, which is Bhumi Loka, the atmospheric loka or Bhuvar Loka. That's the same. They also called it Antariksha. That's the same thing. And Svarga Loka, the heaven realm of the Devas. Above that, there are more lokas, but that's beyond the light of our sun. And below that, there's also a whole bunch of lokas. There's 7 more, but also those are not lit by our sun. So they
Oh,
mentioned
cool.
the three lokas that are within the realm of our sunlight.
Could you say those again? It's like like where we're
Yeah,
living, and then
where
what?
the one that we are in is Bhumi Loka.
Uh-huh.
The next one up that they mentioned is it's called here they referred to it as Antariksha. More often it goes by another name of Bhuvar Loka, but it's also called Antariksha. And then the next one up, they called it Svaraloka, or Svarga. Svara is short for Svarga. Svarga Loka. That's the one that's most often translated as heaven, the heaven of Indra and Indra's devas.
Uh-huh. And and this Svarga is still under the influence of Surya or the center of our solar system.
Yeah, it is it's lit by our same sun.
And revolves around it or something.
Yeah, yeah, based around it's still the sun is the center. Our same sun is still the center of it. It's tied to our solar system.
Interesting. Now, But then does Svarga or Bula Loka? I'm sorry. What is it? Buva?
Bhuvar, the middle one.
Buvar?
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, are those influenced by yugas? Do they have
No,
a
no,
yuga
they
cycle
don't. No, they don't.
or
And
astrological signs?
sorry, what about
Or
astrological signs?
astrological signs?
The astrological signs would apply there, but not yugas. Um,
Oh,
Yuga, in fact, most even of Bhumiloka doesn't have yugas. Only Bharatavarsha. So Bharatavarsha can be a confusing term because it's used to refer to India, but in this case, it refers to our whole Earth. But all this extended region of Bhuloka, the other like Uttarakuru Varsha, Ketumala Varsha, Bhadrashva Varsha, Ramyaka Varsha, and all these other Dvipas, Plaksha Dvipa, Kusha Dvipa, Pushkara Dvipa, Shalmali Dvipa, Kroncha Dvipa. Um, there's no yugas in any of those places. It's only in Bharatavarsha. It's a more the yugas are a more local phenomenon to our part of Bhuloka. In fact, that's why the rest of it is inaccessible to us during Kali Yuga. Yeah, we are literally under quarantine so that our issue of Kali Yuga doesn't damage the neighboring Varshas.
whoa. What
Yeah,
if we
so
like
it's basically like a dimensional folding quarantine to contain the disease of Kali Yuga.
oh my God.
Yeah.
So what would you call our version of a mask? Can we like mask? Is there a version?
in order to visit other Varshas. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. But
I guess that's our devotion, huh? Like maybe our devotion to Krishna in theory would be our
yeah,
mask,
our protection from the
our
corruption of Kali
vaccine.
Yuga. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Or let's just say our test, like our test, like if we can, if we can fly on the plane, you get a test before you fly on the plane,
Sure, sure.
maybe. Krishna's the test or Alma. Wow. Wild.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Cool.
yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Dave. Shame on.
Jai Ma.